Hey everybody, Benjamin here. Super Mario Galaxy is one of, if not my favorite video game of all time, with Galaxy 2 somewhere close behind. I've always had strong nostalgia towards these games, and Nintendo seems to be catching on to that. Not only have they re-released Galaxies 1 and 2 on the Switch now, but the Super Mario Bros. Movie sequel is now called the Super Mario Galaxy Movie. And after getting a taste of Megaleg from the first trailer, it kind of reminded me of one of my favorite aspects from the Galaxy games that I hope we see a lot of in the movie. The bosses. Both games are filled to the brim with some of the best fights in the entire Mario series, while also having a couple of stinkers. So, since doing a full review of both games, much less even ranking every single Galaxy from the Galaxy games would be such a monumental task, I'm going to take things a little bit simpler today. We're only going to be covering the bosses from Super Mario Galaxy 1 and saving Galaxy 2 for another day. One quick caveat before we dive in, some of these bosses have multiple fights within Mario Galaxy, such as Bowser or Kamala. In most of those cases, I'll be ruling all of those fights together into one slot. However, in cases like Dino Piranha and Fiery Dino Piranha, I will be leaving those as separate slots. With that out of the way, this is every boss in Super Mario Galaxy ranked.
Number 18, Mandibug Stack. Okay, not gonna lie, how does this even count as a boss? This is literally just two Mandibugs stacked on top of each other, a mom and its child. You can barely even call that a stack, and it only takes 2 hits to beat. There's not even any boss music in this fight, but every webpage I saw about the Galaxy bosses included this as a fight. So congratulations, Mandibug Stack. The level leading up to you is great, but you still get last place on this list. Number 17, Baron Burr. Okay, now we can get into the real bosses, starting with the most underwhelming fight for me. Baron Burr seems like it would be an interesting fight when you're initially scaling the Freezy Peak, but once you get to the top, he behaves just like the little Burrs, only it takes 3 hits instead of 1 to kill. His blowback attack is also very easy to avoid, so there's practically no challenge to this fight. To be honest, I wish the Ice Flower played a bigger role into it. Number 16, Top Maniac. One of the classics in this game, but still one of the easiest. This is the first fight to have 2 versions, but they don't differ enough from one another to have their own slots in the ranking. This fight involves you jumping on Top Maniac's head, then using your spin attack to knock him into the electrical fences. It's a bit more challenging the second time when the electrical fences are spinning and Top Maniac brings out reinforcements, but that's only an issue when jumping on his head. Once he's deactivated, knocking him into the fence isn't super difficult. This boss has a really cool design, but that's pretty much all it has going for it on the positive side. Number 15, Undergrunt Gunner. These fights just annoy me. Undergrunt Gunner is another boss you fight twice, but both times in Galaxies from the engine room. You'd think that Nintendo would spread these fights out a little better, but they just didn't this time for whatever reason. This dude shoots out water in his first fight and is lowered to the ground, requiring you to use B Mario to fly on top of him to damage. However, in the second fight, he's on top of the tower and shoots electrical blasts that hone in on you, requiring you to use Spring Mario to gain the height necessary to take him out. By all accounts, these should be 2 separate slots because of these differences, but due to the relatively small scale of both fights regardless, plus their closeness in-game, it's still hard to distinguish. For a little guy, he puts up quite a fight, but nothing better than top of C tier for me. Number 14, King Caliente. Now we start getting into the more solid fights with B tier. This is one of those fights that I go, oh yeah, this one was so tough as a kid. But as an adult, I can beat it in like 20 seconds. While the first version of the fight is cool, you kind of don't move that much at all to kill him, making it less complex. At least not as complex as... Number 13, Dino Piranha. The first boss in Super Mario Galaxy. This fight is a great first boss, making you think outside the box with how to use your spin attack. I can beat this fight in 15 seconds flat, but because you gotta actually move around, it makes the fight a little more interesting compared to King Caliente. Number 12, Major Burrows. This is a boss I thought I'd rank a little higher, but it kinda ended up in the middle of the pack instead. Major Burrows is part of the most iconic galaxy between the 2 games, and his fight fits within the theming pretty well. You have to ground pound when his head is out of the ground to stun him, which sounds easy on paper, but it's when you pop him out and he starts running away that it can be a little challenging to stop him. The third phase can be especially challenging because he charges right after you've ground pounded the first time, requiring you to do a second ground pound at just the right time before he nails you. I like this fight a lot, but I just think the fights later on this list are just a little bit better. Number 11, Kamala. Another boss that has two versions. The first one isn't super notable. It's more about the second fight that Kamala can become a challenge. In both fights, Kamala shoots out fireballs and Koopa shells, which the Koopa shells you're able to grab and throw right back at her. The speed at which she moves, however, can be hard to keep up with, but this is made even more challenging when she goes on top of the pier and summons other Magic Koopas. She puts up quite a fight, and I like how you can see the power star in her wand, but it can't quite get her into the top 10.
Now that we have knocked out the B and C tiers, it's time to start getting into the A and S tier boss fights. Yeah, most of the boss fights in this game are on the top half than on the bottom. So let's get into it.
Number 10, Fiery Dino Piranha. Cracking into the top 10, we have a couple of variants of previous fights that I felt were significantly different enough to rank them in a whole tier higher than their initial fights. Plus, they had their own unique names in-game. Starting with Fiery Dino Piranha. This time around, his tail lights on fire and leaves a trail of flames behind, requiring you to time your attacks just right to be able to nail him. He even breathes fire on the final phase, adding another layer of complexity to this already chaotic boss fight. A really good final fight before heading into the center of the universe. Number 9, Spicy King Caliente. My biggest problem with the first version of this fight has been solved here. Now, if you stand in one place for too long, the platforms you're standing on will start to sink into the lava, forcing you to constantly be on the move, running and jumping from platform to platform. The attack patterns are still the same, but add the fireballs and the meteors to the mix, and you have a massively improved fight from the first one. Number 8, Terratox. This fight is one of the few that takes more than 3 hits to take out. A fair number of people don't like this fight because you primarily have to rely on the slime shot to damage Terratox. However, I don't think this is the worst use of this mechanic, and I also don't like spiders. So killing it regardless of how it's done is super satisfying for me. Having to be quick with your maneuvers around the planet to hit the right spots on Terratox while dodging his poison is yet another great challenge that this game continues to pose. Number 7, Bugaboom. I ended up ranking this fight way higher than I originally anticipated. But there's something to be said about the fight being the climax of the Honey Hive Galaxy that brings all the elements introduced in the missions of the galaxy super nicely together and makes it stand out from the rest of the game. In the first phase, Bugaboom is on the ground, making it fairly easy for you to do a backflip and ground pound him. But then, he starts flying, which means you gotta suit up with the bee mushroom to fly high enough to damage him. Finally, he goes red hot and starts flipping around and tilting his back, forcing you to time the ground pound just right to knock him down one final time. Such great fight progression all around, fitting comfortably in A tier. Number 6, Bowser Jr. Surprisingly, you only fight Bowser Jr. directly one time in this game compared to Galaxy 2, but that doesn't take away from quite the beating he dishes out his first go-around. Bowser Jr.'s airship takes 5 hits to destroy. The first phase takes 3 hits, where the ship is faced perpendicular to you. Similar to the Kamala fights, you have to take the Koopa shells and throw them at the ship, but this time while jumping so that you have enough height to get it to the ship. As more damage is taken by the ship, more projectiles are fired, making it more and more challenging to jump around. On the final phase, you have 2 hits left and the ship turns directly towards you, making the target even smaller. Landing these hits becomes all the more satisfying with each additional challenge, once again making for great boss progression.
Before we get into the top 5, I just want to quickly remind you that I'll be doing all of this again for Super Mario Galaxy 2. So make sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date on the latest things that are going on this channel. And with that, let's get into the top 5.
Number 5, Mega Leg. Kicking off the top 5, we got the first Grand Star boss fight in the game. This thing is massive and really shows off how wacky the gravity mechanics can get in this game. Scaling up his legs to arrive at the head is so cool to do, but the real challenge begins when you blast off the main helmet, causing spinning gates to block the Grand Star glass. While they can be destroyed with bullet bills, they'll come right back up if you don't act fast. Doing this as a kid was such a huge roadblock for me. And even as an adult, I feel like I gotta time everything so perfectly to... Or I could just jump over the fence. Yeah, the only downside to this fight is that it's over in 2 hits. No wonder Rosalina was able to take it out with such ease in the movie trailer. Regardless, still a very cool and unique fight. Number 4, Bouldergeist. Now this boss is iconic. As a kid, Bouldergeist was one of the scarier boss fights. I mean, a rock monster shouldn't be that bad, especially if it's stationary, but the first phase still takes 4 hits to progress the fight. Then you get to the second phase, and... He's got fists now? The fists don't contribute to destroying the main body of Bouldergeist, yet they often get in the way of trying to hit him with the Bombus. With good RNG and excellent timing though, you can still swing them in at just the right spot to take him out quickly. Still a classic boss, but do you know which fight requires even more precision? Number 3, Kingfin. Bro, this fight was crazy! I legitimately can't think of an underwater boss from the Mario series that's anywhere close to this battle's quality. Kingfin is the scariest boss in Mario Galaxy, even as an adult, and he takes 5 hits to kill. The first time you're looking for him, you're just trying to get your bearings, finding a green or a red shell to nail him with. But for every bit of damage he takes, he summons more bone fins that throw off your targeting. It's a boss like this that really has it all. Yet it's really easy to miss because it's part of its own dedicated galaxy rather than being part of something like the Deep Dark Galaxy. Kinda disappointing in that regard, but it doesn't take away from the fight itself regardless. Number 2, Heavy Metal Mecha Bowser. Okay, now I know some of you watching this might be like, wait, this counts as a boss fight? Well, it was in the tier list that I used, and even if it wasn't, I still would have included it. Similar to Mega Leg, Mecha Bowser is a giant toy Bowser that you have to climb, screwing and unscrewing different parts of its body in an effort to destroy the infernal contraption and save the Gearmos trapped inside. Disassembling this monstrosity has to be one of the coolest ways to beat a boss, literally crawling all over the body to do it. And after snapping off the robot's right arm, you get to the top platform where the face is and have to use the spring mushroom to jump high enough and ground pound its head. Or do you? Yep. With a well-timed triple jump, wall jump, and spin, you can reach the head that way. And after ground pounding, you crush straight down to the core of the machine, blowing it up in spectacular fashion. Such an amazing boss that's a level in and of itself. And to this day, Nintendo has yet to replicate it. Number 1, Bowser. Was there ever any doubt? Bowser in Super Mario Galaxy 1 is by far the best Bowser boss fight in the entire mainline Mario series, dishing out multiple attacks around a spherical planet and constantly charging after you. That's to his own detriment though, because if you get him to jump and land on the glass sealing the lava, he will get burned and start swarming around the planet, requiring you to use your spin attack to knock him back and forth around it. The final boss fight has a couple of additional phases before that point, and it's designed in such a way that you can attack sooner if you know what you're doing. This is all accompanied by an epic orchestral boss theme, getting your blood pumping at every strike Bowser makes on you and you make on him. This is hands down the best boss fight in Super Mario Galaxy, and arguably one of the best boss fights across all bosses in the entire Mario franchise.
And there you have it, my ranking of all the bosses in Super Mario Galaxy 1. I had a ton of fun doing this, and I know it was a little bit of a shorter video today, but I didn't want to think too hard about some of the bosses on this list because ultimately, I at the bare minimum like all of these fights. Except for maybe the Mandibug stack. That one's kind of stupid. But regardless, hope you enjoyed my thoughts on all the bosses in Mario Galaxy 1. Like this video. Comment on what your favorite boss is from Super Mario Galaxy or your top 5 of yourself. Be sure to subscribe to keep up to date when I release the next video talking about all the Galaxy 2 bosses. Again, I will also be posting about additional reactions that might happen between now and then. And of course, when the Super Mario Galaxy movie comes out, I'm pretty certain I'll be doing a review on that too. With that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.